ShortHall, a short journey to the lives of real people with life lessons just for you. I hope you're feeling it, for it's that time again to join me, your host, Willie Hall. So grab your favorite drink and relax, or cruise down the road while you enjoy another journey into the lives of real people having food for the soul. Food that entertains and feeds all people, both young and old. And don't be surprised if your podcast host shares some of his own pot of gold. All right, ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, it's that time again today with ShortHall. Well, this is the first show, and you might be wondering why ShortHall. Well, the correctly spelled word ShortHall, ShortHaul, is a transportation term that speaks of a short journey. See, my journeys have directly taught me many valuable life lessons, or indirectly taught me by the life experiences of others. My 30-plus years of United States naval and federal civil service has given me insights into organizational, operational, international, and interpersonal relationships. Having lived and worked abroad in 4 countries and traveled to almost 40, I've learned from many people of different faiths and cultures. I've seen the best as well as the worst of humanity during my 6 years of service in combat zones as an intelligence operations officer, diplomat, and advisor to senior military and civilian officials. I've learned what it takes to excel in high-pressure and dynamic environments while piloting naval helicopters and commercial passenger jets. And for the young and the young at heart, I've learned how much of a positive impact a high school teacher can make in the life of a child while leading a junior ROTC program. I could go on, but the following will suffice. God has blessed me with a good and rich life filled with experiences and life lessons I hope will bless you. So as this podcast, ShortHall, that is ShortHall, begins and matures, I want you to begin thinking of your ShortHall story that you can share with others. For who knows, I might come knocking on your door to invite you to share your ShortHall story with our listeners. So, what is ShortHall's objective? ShortHall stories basically are stories from the lives of real people having life lessons that'll teach, instruct, and make you a better person, and at times put a smile on your face. Now, let's delve into a little bit more of my background, and then we'll tell a few stories before I close this show. Why did I join the U.S. Navy and serve for 26 years? And also, with that in mind, I'm going to share some stories from my days in India while serving as an assistant naval attaché for the United States government. Well, when I joined the Navy, long before I joined, when I was a young boy, it was my grandfather who was a World War II United States Marine Corps veteran. He fought in the battles of Iwo Jima, Saipan, and Tinian. He was a fun granddad to be around, and I was an inquisitive young boy asking all kinds of questions of what it was like for him in the days when he fought in the Great War. Well, by the time I was age 12, because of his influence, I just assumed that every man's duty and responsibility was to serve his or her country in uniform. So I had made my mind up since the age of 12 that when that day came, I would sign the papers and serve my country. My initial contract was for 6 years as an enlisted man to be trained as a electronics technician to work upon nuclear power reactors. Well, after about a year of going through schools, I decided to go ahead and apply to the United States Naval Academy, where I was accepted and attended from 1985 to 1989, receiving my commission as a United States naval officer in May of 1989. In my years of service since my graduation, I eventually took on a job responsibility as the assistant to naval attaché to India between 2005 and 2007. I had many wonderful, great experiences and some very interesting stories that deal with not only just interpersonal relationships, but also with organizational relationships and international relationships. So without going into some of the weightier issues, I think for this first show, I think we should start out with just a couple funny but very telling stories of experiences that I had directly or one of my close colleagues working out of the Defense Attaché office experienced himself. Well, the first story I'm going to tell, I'm going to title this Capstone Visit with a Little Monkey Business. You see, ladies and gentlemen, in our military service, it has a up-and-out policy. As you begin to move through your career as an officer, and you take those critical assignments that are necessary to continue to progress up the food chain, and hopefully by God's grace and blessing, you'll be promoted to those more senior ranks. If you happen to have the great fortune and honor and privilege to be selected as a one-star general or rear admiral, lower half, you are enrolled into a course called Capstone. And there you'll be partnered with other one-star selectees and partner with a four-star retired general or admiral. And through weeks of study, you'll be studying in a different part of the world, a certain region of the world, where you'll learn to think more strategically. And at the combination of these studies, you'll actually travel to those parts of the world where you'll engage in high-level meetings with leaders of those countries to which you were assigned and studied in the weeks in advance of the visit. Well, part of my job as a naval attaché was to go ahead and arrange these meetings to make sure that these generals and admirals that were newly selected got the appropriate scene setter reports before they even arrived in country, that they received the country team brief when they first came in to the country, and as well to be able to arrange those meetings with key officials. And in this case, one such meeting was with the Minister of Defense for the Indian military. Well, in India's a very interesting place where I learned a lot, had a great experience, met many, many wonderful people. But one of the things about India is they have, at least in the capital, New Delhi, they have monkeys by the hundreds. And imagine yourself as an American or maybe Western European country and going down to your capital and imagine seeing monkeys everywhere, on the buildings, near the buildings, leading up to the buildings, and sometimes even inside the buildings. Well, this is pretty much New Delhi, India. When you go over to the ministry buildings, well, in order to deal with this problem of all these monkeys, and these monkeys are called the rhesus macaque monkeys, or for short, the rhesus monkeys. They're a smaller type monkey. But the Indians, they came up with a solution because killing them was not something that was acceptable to their culture and society. So, but their solution was to hire this guy to come with a bigger monkey called a langur monkey. It's a giant monkey with a black face, and just the sight of this one monkey would frighten hundreds of these smaller monkeys called the rhesus monkeys. And he also had like a slingshot that he would use to fire stones at these rhesus monkeys. And so this kind of took care of the problem on a temporary situation. So monkeys would come, then the guy with the langur monkey, he would come and every several days to continually deal with this recurring problem. So on our visit back to the Capstone group that I was with, we were headed over to the Ministry of Defense building, and it must have been the day before where this guy had come through with the langur monkey, so there weren't too many rhesus monkeys near the Ministry of Defense building. But still, the generals were like, "So, Bill, okay, where are these monkeys?" I said, "Don't worry, you'll see some monkeys, right?" So we go into the MOD office and meet with the Minister of Defense. Had a wonderful meeting. The generals that were there, the U.S. generals and the U.S. admirals that were part of that office call, did a great job what they were trained to do. Well, upon completion of a great meeting, we leave the office of the Minister of Defense for the Indian military. We're walking down the hallway, and as we're walking down the hallway, one of the generals in that group was a two-star general, sweet woman. And she says, well, how do you tell the difference between the male and the female monkeys? You understand, these rhesus monkeys, I mean, they look very similar. I mean, both the males and the females, they look very similar from an outward view. So it was a natural question to ask. Well, as soon as she asked that question, we walked down to the end of that hallway, turned left to go down the next hallway, and wouldn't you know it, inside the building, at the end of that other hallway, there was a male monkey and a female monkey. Let's just say they were doing some monkey business. Well, needless to say, you could hear quite a few folks laugh. And for the rest of those next several days during their visit in India, I could hear these questions being asked from time to time. One general would say to that other general who asked the question, so, General so-and-so, can you tell us how you can tell the difference between a male monkey and a female monkey? Now, you might get a little chuckle out of that like I did. So let's think about this. Some lessons learned. One of the lessons I learned was, 1, be careful what you ask, for you might get far more than you expect. 2, not all monkey business is meant for indoors. And 3, always keep a great sense of humor and be willing to laugh at yourself and with those around you. All right, in closing, let me tell one more story, on another monkey story. The title of this one I'll call Man on a Park Bench with a Knock on His Head. You see, this one I didn't experience firsthand, but my colleague that I work closely with, he did. And as he described to me, he was seated upon a park bench one day, and across from him, maybe about 30, 40 feet, was another bench facing his direction. There was a man seated there on that bench with a satchel, a bag that was by his leg, seated upon the ground. Now, halfway in between the two benches were two monkeys, side by side, and they were facing the man seated upon the bench who had the bag or satchel by his leg. And my friend, of course, is watching this whole scene, just enjoying the weather and the beauty of the day. And he said he noticed the two monkeys, they kind of looked at each other, and they would turn and they were looking at that bag that was on the ground by that man's leg. And next thing you know, he says he sees the two monkeys look at each other again, did some gestures towards each other. One of the monkeys remained in the position that it was in. The other one did this semicircular maneuver, went around the side of that bench, around the back of the bench, and came up behind that man. Again, this man's oblivious to what's taking place by this other monkey. All his eyes are fixed upon the monkey that remains seated there in front of him. Well, the monkey that had circled around and came behind him, there happened to be a tree behind that man's bench. So the monkey climbed up the tree and climbed out on a branch that was over top the man's head. Again, the man has no idea about what's going to take place. And sure enough, that monkey that was on the branch over top that man's head held onto the branch with one hand, balled up its fist with the other, and next thing you know, swings down and punches the man in the head, and that man stands up and looks up into the tree to see what in the world just took place. And as soon as he looked up, that monkey that was on the ground immediately ran over, grabbed that bag, and ran off with the goods. Now, needless to say, my friend just howled and laughed his heart out. Well, I thought about that. Isn't it funny how life is sometimes? Some lessons learned from that story. 1, oftentimes in life there's far more taking place around you, but not in your view. 2, be circumspect, for it's not always what you see that'll bite you where you sit. 3, 2 are better than 1, for they do have a good reward for their labor. And 4, sometimes the school of hard knocks leaves nuggets of gold that you'll never forget. Well, dear listener, I hope these stories today brought a little smile to your face and a little more wisdom to your heart. Again, thank you for this time, and I look forward to seeing you. Thanks, dear listener, for joining your host, Willie Hall. I trust you found some nuggets of gold in today's real stories. Now, help me help ShortHall best serve your listening needs by entering your comments, follows, and likes below. And together we'll build the best and fastest growing show. A show that lifts the soul and helps bless all. Now, until we meet again and beyond, enjoy the life God gave you until your next journey with ShortHall.